only to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? ELO Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just fucking do it.
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh, no! Kill! Let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played. Competitively.
I need help.
I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then two captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the ELO Hell Pickup Games Discord, and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to some more GGEU. This time we're taking a step up in the brackets. We've got the experts popping off, or the advanced, pardon me, popping off over here. We've got the Shanghai Wagons facing off against Victis. And both these teams, as I said, looking pretty dangerous on their respective rosters, but both teams actually picking up a win and a loss apiece so far. Certainly interesting, Soav, and you see both the teams. One of them has just the 6 players, and Victis pretty stacked with 9 players, the maximum.
I mean, the 9-player maximum, you're looking for a little bit more specialists, right? As you go to Lijiang Tower, this is where you might bring in maybe your like Pharah player, your like projectile player that you might have instead of your flex. You know, you're probably playing the long game with a roster like that, where you're just going to give people the chance to pop off and then take a break and keep the stress off the best you can. Meanwhile, the very strong 6 are probably a little bit better of a team in some regards. You kind of have played together for longer. You kind of know how everybody's going to do, and you have a little bit, probably a broader hero pool. So we'll kind of get an idea to see what might pay off in these kinds of tournaments in the long run, Simba.
Yeah, absolutely. We are getting ready to head into Lijiang, so let's not waste any more time. We are going in now. Darth Murloc, is worth noting, is the team manager for Victis, but will be playing this map here. Certainly interesting. A Wrecking Ball main coming out. We could see some more Wrecking Ball shenanigans here, so...
I think, I guess we all really like the Chengdu Huntress here, because we're seeing this Wrecking Ball Pharah comps come out. Oh no, they're going to commit to full dive. Okay, I do like that a little better, but the pharmacy is going to be very big, so it's going to be a lot on Eagle and Frost to really put the pressure on the Prophecy here, because that brawl is not going to do much. They are going to be a little bit faster because they're already on points.
Prophecy could practically kiss Eagle on the lips there, as close as the Pharah got to the McCree, and a big anti-nade will go on to the Shanghai Wagons, but they're not phased. They hunker down behind the shield of Joey, and Eagle's happy to just snipe the birds out of the sky, and a pretty convincing win for the ball comp there. Shanghai Wagons coming out on top. And how do you feel about the Winston Hammond for Victis?
It's a bit atypical, right? Like, you like the shield, I guess, because you think there's going to be anti-healing maybe for Joey on that Reinhardt. But I think as the more crucial part to this is that it has to be a crisp dive, right? If everybody collapses at the same point and the bubble comes down to prevent that healing, it's going to be more important. As we're just going to get a cheeky boop out there, and Ollie's going to take that first pick as it goes. Falling Melon, that's going to be really big. That's a lot of damage out there.
Well, Prophecy falls. That flank not really paying off, as Ollie does find the pick that was alley-ooped at him by Prophecy. The problem is it didn't really win the fight for them, as Prophecy just had so much downtime in that fight. They were practically Victis fighting a 5v6, and that's your main source of damage missing for quite a cute play.
Yeah, there's nothing gained out of it. You still don't have an ult on the board. Ollie coming into that Genji blade, but that's about it. Like, Eagle already still, you know, at the same time, I guess he didn't give them many ults, but they still have this photon barrier and the Deadeye coming out, and you're already behind in the ultimate economy, as Melon's just going to go in and initiate really quickly out of the ult to give himself a little bit of space.
Yeah, well, Darth Murloc's going to be good at dealing with that Symmetra quickly, but with the Photon Barrier coming out, that job's going to be made slightly more difficult. Shatter now drop down, will catch Darth Murloc in the Immortality field, keeping them alive. Ollie gets absolutely smeared across the point, just goes down to the level 3 beam of Melon now, who is in full swing and feeling themselves. That's the second turret final blow for the Shanghai Wagons that fight, so
I mean, that's why you run the sim, right? That's why we see the sim is so popular here. Because when the brawl is too busy running at you, you're not thinking about the turrets that are there. And Victis is coming into 5 ults now, so they have the ability to make a play here. But Tobias is gonna fall early. I guess they might have missed the swing there, and that's bad news as the ultimates come out. And
yeah, it certainly is. I mean, Barrage comes down from Prophecy, but it certainly is too little too late as Eagle catches in your face with a Deadeye shot to the back. We'll finish them off, and Tobias takes another dip in the drink. 100-0 to the Shanghai Wagons. They're looking very, very good here.
And they're all just gonna have a dive and victory. And Joja just, you know, kind of cleaned up too, threw the amplification matrix out there just to kind of finish it up, but they didn't really need it. The brawl from the Shanghai Wagons looking really crisp, and you can see that this is a lot of picks for them that they've put the time in on, and you can see why this is just a good comp for them. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I even like seeing the Orisa on these brawl comps that you're trying to hunker down a bit more with. Running that Orisa just gives you that extra stability to hold on to the point, especially if you've got that Symmetra in play. But we're going to see the Monkey coming out from Darth Murloc, perhaps.
The old classical, you know, Ryan Winston comps back when we only had 4 tanks to work
yes.
with, which is, I like it, it's fun, but we are going to see both Symmetras come out, so we accepted we're going to play Brawl now. So let's see who can get there and brawl the strongest Simba.
Well, trades either side, but Eagle coming up top trumps at the moment. The microwave fully in swing, and Eagle feeling the heat and applying it straight back onto Victis there. I mean, blink and you'll miss that team fight. Shanghai Wagons looking pretty solid already.
It's why you run this hyper speed comp, right? Because if you get there first and you get set up, you can win. Prophecy gonna give it up, go to the McCree, just to apply the damage differently. And Ollie's still on that Junkrat, already almost to a Riptire. Gonna try and pressure out a little bit more of that front line, as we kind of saw earlier, but the early teleport coming out gonna get some cheeky damage in, I think, before they go and press forward.
Yeah, and now with Ollie closing in on this Riptire, I mean, the pressure that the Junkrat's going to apply to the Orisha shield is more or less gonna negate it outright here. Joey's having to just posture up, but yep, there we see. This will go down nice and early. Darth Murloc getting the final blow there, and the pin onto Joey sends him packing into the back line. There's the picks finally in favor of Victis. Now the photon barrier, slight desperation out from Eagle there, doesn't bear any fruit as Melon also commits the Riptire to try and keep this alive. Slightly too hopeful perhaps, as he's darting and dancing around the photon barrier, all for naught. However, as Darth Murloc will clean them up, and Victis flip the point.
I wonder if Melon might be giving up that Junkrat. It's perfectly fine and it works, but now it's interesting to see, because Ollie does have their tire available, looking to get a little more out of it. On the defensive end, they can play back and just wait that out, and possibly pair it with Tobias's Reinhardt Shatter. So we'll have to see what this tire does, as it's lying in wait on the wall.
Hey, patience is a virtue. And it doesn't pay off for Ollie, but it's bought so much space for Victis. Now the Shatter is dropped down by Tobias, but he's got his number absolutely had by Joey there, who lands one in return. Return to sender that Shatter, and does get the better end of the deal. And Shanghai Wagons flip that point, but 40 to 45%. Victis keep it close.
They didn't spend a lot to win it either. That Shatter was basically it. You still have this the bongo, the old amplification cylinder there that's ready, and you still have the sound barrier coming in from Noya. So that'll have to be big versus Prophecy's high noon that's going to come in. And they have the barriers in their advantage, Simba. So they can, in theory, hold this out as they just dig into this point.
Yeah, they're just going to hunker down and buy as much time as they can. Melon is going to let this Riptire go. However, immediately, cute little teleport to cover some ground. The Immortality Field will keep everyone alive, but so very low is Tobias. The beat comes through just a little too late to save their lives. Melon will be taken out by Prophecy, however, but immediately traded out as well to the Lucio, no less. Noya 1 finding a pick of their own, and this is final fight territory now for Victis.
I mean, credit to Maxina for that good save, but they have to come up big now and turn it right around into an offense. As Tobias falls early, and the kill feed is showing up red, but it looks like once you get dug in here, you can't beat him out.
Such a brutal hold-the-door strategy paying up in droves for the Shanghai Wagons as they take Lijiang as easy as you like it from Victis. 1-0 to Shanghai Wagons.
And that was a very dominant showing from the Shanghai Wagons, right? They just looked incredibly crisp on that brawl. No member really giving the space, and Joey's going to take the play of the game for that. What is assumedly that shatter. But there was no member of the team that really was like slack here, right? Everybody looked good, and between two shields, that's just impressive in itself because they were able to get through both of those shields to drop that shatter and get the double kill from it.
Yeah, Joey really threading the needle to get that play of the game. Wonderfully, wonderfully done from them. And I just have to say, with Victis's compositions coming out, I'm not sold on the Ryan Winston. It might have been an adaptation on the fly to deal with the Symmetra, but ultimately it didn't pay off, and I think you just probably want to run the D.Va from the get-go anyway. I mean, they're running a Junkrat, right, as well, so surely that's the bigger threat, and if you can turn up the heat on Shanghai Wagons, the Symmetra never gets to that level 3 beam in the first place, and you can kind of steamroll a little better just with that defense matrix rather than the Winston zap, because as we know, the Ryan Winston hasn't been played professionally at least in a long time.
Yeah, there's not much of a reason, and maybe that was your thought initially, but like you said, the Junkrat there already still a counter to you, and if you let Sim get out of control, she can, that counter you thought you had to just now run over. So initially maybe an interesting thought. I think maybe you wanted to go like Winston D.Va rush in that regard and play it a little smaller, maybe not take as big of dives because you're not isolating anybody here, and you can use the bubble effectively to kind of cut out those Baptiste heals if you play well. But they never really got there, right? Like they never really were able to kind of isolate the Reinhardt effectively because of how well the Shanghai Wagons just played together as a unit and effectively just ran at you.
Yeah, and I think that's part and parcel of having that Orisa as well. Playing those bunker compositions with the Reinhardt, effectively, you're not playing Rush, you're playing double shield with the Reinhardt instead of a Sigma. I believe it was Matt Morello who said that on Overwatch League broadcast a little while ago, and it sort of explained and broke that down, that you're actually playing a poke composition. Yeah. You've got the Reinhardt for when the distance is eventually closed on you, that you've still got a spearhead to march forward with, and I think the Shanghai Wagons played that beautifully. An excellent display coming out from there.
I 100% agree, and just to follow on what you said, it's not even a bunker you want to dive, right? Because if you just let the Rhine continue to swing at you, that's so much damage, right? There's no world you want to dive at that. So you almost have to either rush at it and kind of get outplayed in that regard, or poke at it. And poking at that comp is just not easy to do either with so many shields. And as we go to King's Row, we may still see that kind of double shield, but I think we're just going to see brawl, right? Like we're just going to see this McCree X kind of a brawl come out. We might see the double bubble, but neither team really showed it. So it's going to be like, it's more than likely we're just going to see brawl here, I think, Simba.
Yeah, and I just hope for Victis' sake that they don't run out with any wacky alternative versions of brawl, that they don't run the Ryan Winston to try and get creative and take out the Symmetra. Like, this is high elo Overwatch. The meta is important in these matchups. If you try and divert, there has to be a researched and practiced plan. If you're going to do it on the fly, it has to be because you are cracked on that hero as much as it is a counter pick. Shanghai Wagons looking very good on that brawl, however, and we could just see the Rhino Orisa coming out for the first point defense as well for them. Victis got some catching up to do, but it is their map pick, so...
And Victis going to make some changes, I think, with that. Maybe they've changed some things because they are going to put in Floyd and knock the block here to kind of change things around, and they're going to swap their DPS lines. So I think maybe we're looking for more of those like longer range hit scan and maybe like an echo specialist or something in here. You do have some range that you can play in King's Row, and maybe they're looking to move to a full double bubble kind of a comp here, and maybe you're bringing in like kind of your dive team, right? Like this may be those swaps of your DPS.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it's certainly just a matter of time. We're just about ready to hop into King's Row as well. I mean, we saw it earlier on. Hopefully, we're not going to get another 3-0 series, but with as decimating as Shanghai Wagons were going into that Lijiang, Victis have really got to send a message coming back into this. They've got to do it quickly. So do you think they're going to roll out with this dive, or do you think that they're going to try and force like a wacky brawl?
So they've swapped their DPS, so I have to assume there's something particular about these players, and we're going to see Knock the Block over on the Junkrat. So they're showing this double shield. Maybe they realize that like they can poke their way through this. Floyd over on the McCree there. It looks like they're going to try and poke their way through this as opposed to run at their problems, which I don't disagree with. I think that could work, especially if Darth Murloc on that Orisa can keep really anchored for them. On the other side, it looks like they're just going to play. They're going to swap in, and Frost is going to go to the Sigma here. Give them a little bit more ability to kind of split and play a collapsible kind of a rush. So your Frost will anchor at one point, and Joey could maybe even take a flank in, or just kind of give them different angles, a little bit more support as they rush in here, Simba.
Good lord, I mean, Frost went down to half HP there right out of spawn doors, knocked the block. Either had a set trap up or just lobbing nades in, just caught Frost unawares. But 30% to that Riptire nice and early on is what you're going to want from your Junkrat player. So we see Shanghai Wagons, a very slow, methodical approach, but Knock the Block falling, and with Shanghai Wagons on these high grounds now, it's gonna be a push forward. A beautiful Maywall coming out as Joey goes for that pin, sends it slightly wayward as both Immortality Fields expended. Joey battered and bruised and hurting at the moment as Floyd will find a pick for the defense. It's got to be a touch coming through, however, from Darth Murloc, who will fall. Picks either side now. Shanghai Wagons gonna get the better of this exchange, however, but they choose to back up and recoup their losses.
Great spatial control by the Shanghai Wagons. They basically enabled to turn the fight on Victis so that Eagle was already on a flank. Like, he didn't need to take the high ground. He was just, why take the flank when you can turn and make the main fight your flank for you? So as they're going to push in and around Hotel here, they're going to have that respawn advantage, and Knock the Block falls early again. So this could be tragic, though, as the Shatter catches a lot out.
Huge Shatter 4K coming out from Tobias, but he falls and doesn't get any follow-up on it. Darth Murloc was over getting a flanking position on the Orisa, so wasn't available for the damage to come back in. The beat's got to come out, and the High Noon too to boot. This is all the chips in for Victis to hold this point, and they just about stabilized before Frost and Melon trying to pick at their own. Joey is kicking and screaming at the moment, drops that Shatter to no avail at the moment as Frost forced to just back up and get on out of there. Will be taken out to a Flame Strike late on in that fight. 2 minutes gone and only 1 tick acquired.
Great hold by Victis there, yeah. You give up 1 tick if it means you can buy even more time. But Shanghai Wagon's going to come into more of their ults. That flux going to be very big, as well as both support ultimates there. Because Noya does have Sound Barrier, which would be great for this tire that's coming out from Knock. So if timed right, this could be a very... Oh, he's going to fall me early from that Fire Strike!
He falls to the Fire Strike, and that's the 3rd time he's been the first player to fall for the side of Victis, spelling disaster for the defense as Shanghai Wagons have really got the ball rolling now. They will take that point, and I don't think it cost them as much as they thought it would.
No, they definitely are very aware, keenly aware, that if they take out Knock, they can just eliminate a lot of the damage, right? So those early picks on the Knock are calculated. They're going to push back Victis. They're going to try not to give up so much space, and they're going to try to contest right before. They're going to commit window into this too. They're going to try to keep this archway under their control scheme.
Look at the flank coming out from the Junkrat now in the back. The Eagle does fall early on. Might not choose to commit that Riptire just yet, but Knock the Block has let their own position be known to the opposing team. A wonderful Maywall, however, catches Darth Murloc off guard, and a Blizzard comes in to boot as well. The Riptire's got to come in now and be the savior. Knock the Block biding his time as the Accretion Rock will take out Darth Murloc. A trade back with the Riptire takes out Melon, and 5v5 it is. The defense, however, backing up, tails tucked between their legs. They're in trouble, but with Frost going down, this might be turnable for Victis.
I use a great use of ultimates, but it looks like Shanghai Wagons just managed to space theirs out and win fights without even spending theirs. They have 4, Simba. They really didn't spend anything to win that and keep going. And I kind of have to say, I wish Nox Fire had hit a little earlier. You saw it on our screen. They were grouped up right in the middle of that Blizzard, and I think you needed to go a little sooner to make the value work. Eagle's going to launch these Dragons in, and he's just going to hope for the best as the Flux drops. And the barrier comes out on the side of in your face. And that was a ooh. It does take Knock though. Knock just falling early again and again.
Yeah, Knock goes down first again, 4th time this map alone. Not looking great as Tobias takes the bait and gets that May wall out nice and early. Floyd will find Eagle here as well, but Victis just cannot withstand the might that the Shanghai Wagons are channeling right now. They invested so much to survive that Grab Flux and Dragons that once the fight went on long, Victis did not have those resources to sustain in that fight.
And that's what your ultimate economy does for you, right? It lets you hold out for these longers. The longer you can go without knowing else, and Knock the Block falling so early when you might have think about recontesting, and you might think you want to try to make it. That's gonna put the end of it. And they've already taken basically the B, so they'll get one more shot to hold this. But yeah, if you can stall those ultimates out and turn the fight in the later part of it, you're gonna win, and that's what the Wagons did there. They held as long as they could, and the window's gonna come out early from JJ, and that's gonna be lit. Joey with these fire streaks through these windows has just been on point, Simba, and he's been hitting
so devastating. Every time a window comes out, Joey finds a pick. Unbelievable coordination coming out from Joji and Joey, ironically, as Muxina falling down quite late on here. It's going to be a staggered stall to the point, and swaps having to be made. The Riptide has got to be big from Knock the Block, but it's caught in the blizzard. It's feeling a chill as Tobias gets frozen up as well. The Shadow is knocked down from Joey, but nets them very little here. The Kinetic Grasp saves Shanghai Wagons from a fate worse than a Deadeye there as the Immortality Field forced out as Joey's under the pressure. Eagle has this Dragons ready to go as Knock the Block goes off the edge of the map. Disastrous for him as Eagle takes a dip as well. Just complete pandemonium on the payload at the moment. This 3rd point is turning into a scrap fest and a half. The Gravitic Flux out to try and end it right now, but the beat keeps Victis in it and alive. Shanghai Wagons gonna have to back up and rethink.
I don't know what happened with Knock the Block there. Maybe he missed his mind trying to get out, and Floyd just going to go ahead and clean these up. But he's going to fall to Eagle, and that gives an opportunity for the Wagons to turn around. Eagle's just going to keep going and turn right around and pick in your face too. So they have the chance, even though that Victis has these earlier spawns and the chance. With Joja's window, I just expect to see another death to this Fire Strike window, right? Like that has to be your opening point on this. And Knock the Block needs to come up big and not fall early here if they're going to do any sort of impact in these fights.
Well, the Amplification Matrix was pushed straight past by Joey, actually, but a good main wall does isolate the main tank Tobias of Victis once more and gets him slightly worse for wears at the moment. Very low, but the High Noon out from Floyd, who's managed to build up very quickly. Shatter down from Joey, nets them nothing there as the D-Mech from Floyd comes through. Tobias will fall nonetheless here as the Shanghai Wagons have numbers to go. As Floyd does fall, Darth Murloc is slapping back and catches Neuer there. Will take a pin, however, and get their life ended nice and swiftly as Joey pins them into the backline and takes out In Your Face. The High Noon out now from Eagle as Tobias is just hanging on for dear life on this payload. Knock the Block finds Joji, and that might be an opening here, but Eagle wants to end it now and finds 3 kills in their favor with 30 seconds on the clock. A good boot from In Your Face might keep this alive, but nobody touches, and 30 seconds is all the Shanghai Wagons have to operate with.
You got to give it to Victis there because it was a scrappy, long fight that they were able to burn a lot of time off of. And that's kind of what you could ask for, right? Like when you look at the rest of King's Row as they went through, they had moments of strength where they were pushing back, but they never really got footing to stop the Shanghai Wagons. So that's kind of a good hope you could ask for. 27 seconds is not bad. Now you just have to be a little bit more aggressive on this attack and put your resources where you need them to win, right? Because if you can enable Knock the Block to get these long distance lobs in and punish this brawl, you already have a tool that's in your favor, right? Between the mines and the disruption and the traps just for Melon and this Doomfist. In theory, on paper, you stand a little bit of a better chance. I don't think Murloc's going to show this Rhine Ball. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I never write anything off with Simba, so let's see what happens. Yeah, there's going to be Simba.
Yeah, which is fine, and I like Melon on the Doomfist. It denies a lot of what Knock the Block can do over a long period of time. As we see Melon acting as a gargoyle here, will go down and drop that. Knocks everyone out of that Immortality Field, but doesn't manage to get a kill there. Will force out Immortality, however, which is a huge boon, but Eagle goes down to Floyd now. Counter pin coming in, and Melon knows that's the time to go. Will find a pick and might keep this defense alive. A second final blow takes out Floyd as well, but The point is being contested here. Darth Murloc very low, however, and in trouble. Will get taken out, and what looked like a good start for Victis ultimately didn't bear any fruit.
And Melon already almost a Meteor Strike after just that one fight, gonna knock the block late this time. So it's gonna set up a big stagger there. And Joj already has the window for the next fight. Murloc gonna go over to the Zarya. I guess you're looking for a little more protection and more peel, right? Because you can't stop the punch. Yeah, you can't stop a punch with the shield, so you might as well have a bubble for that and get some value out of it, right? Let's hopefully that is a good choice for her, and let's hope for the best here.
Yeah, no hanging around though. Amplification Matrix, the Fire Strike, and a big shatter from Joey just knocks everyone from Victis on their backs now, and they are really backs against the wall, not looking great. Melon does find themselves a little too far forward and will get caught out by Muxina, but the hold is looking good right now.
If they can regroup quickly, they can take advantage of this and make it a 6v5. Melon could also just Meteor Strike their way back into the fight and turn it. So we'll have to see really what happens, because they need to push hard if you're going to make this and make this work. And they're going to do that with Muxina's window, and they're just going to back right out. Regroup till you have a full 6, I think. That's the right call.
Yeah, absolutely it is, right? And there's not really much to work with here, but Melon goes in and uses the ult. It turns eyes around, and that allows the shatter to come through, however, from Tobias, who catches Frost. The High Noon's coming out and dueling here. Neither find a pick, but Fluid will take out Melon after the fact now. A late beat out from Shanghai Wagons might be the turning point, however, for the defense. Self-destruct out as well, and with no Reinhardt available to shield from it, you'd think you'd get more done, but Frost was not to be, as Eagle does fall to Floyd yet again. This is going to be a quick retake now, so it's got to be.
Because you're running out of time. You've got a minute and a half to get full let that go. Floyd's High Noon has to come out and be big here, because otherwise Joj and Joey are just going to keep running this front line, and the way they've been healing for each other has been incredible. As the High Noon comes out from Floyd, he looks like he's got 2, doesn't get anything, and Frost will get him back.
He gets Floyd out of that, so no tanks available with Joey going down. Melon's got to come up big, but nobody touches that point. Victis will hold on and keep this alive for now. And I mean, Shanghai Wagons only finished with 27 seconds in the bank. Like, Victis are on track to match the time bank, if nothing else.
They keep these pushes up, and they won that without committing too much. You do have Graviton Surge plus the Amplification Matrix here, so you're in a pretty good spot. And you know what looks like a good game-winning set of ultimates is Graviton Surge and Riptire. So get the value you can. Frost is going to remech, and Shanghai Wagons are looking to push in really hard and fast with the Shatter, I think, Sim.
Yeah, they have to just rattle down Tobias here so that they can end this fight before the Grab Dragon combo will come out. But Wagons are just playing this slow. Melon does go in, trades their life, so nothing to combo the grab with at the moment. But the Amplification Matrix, wait, the Graviton Surge gets eaten by Frost. Wonderfully done by the off-tank here, as Joey is just being slapped around like a ragdoll right now. Drops the Shatter, however, puts 2 on their backs, and a returning 1-2 punch from Tobias keeps this alive. Numbers just don't favor Victis, however. That being said, Knock the Block is back and uses this Riptire. Will go down, but might get something done with it. Takes out Joey, and these fights are so back and forth. So the attacking team look like they're on top as the dust settles, though.
They do. They put enough into it, and great focus out by Frost there to get Knock the Block out, because that's going to make this retake a lot harder to do. In Your Face may have to commit the Sound Barrier to get this across to B if they can push it, especially because there's a bomb and the Deadeye coming out. This is going to be a tough fight. If they choose to, it looks like they're going to send up.
Well, they were going to try, but Joey gets trapped there. The self-destruct comes out, and Melon takes out Muxina, pardon me, really early on. So the beat is forced from Victis, as is the High Noon now from the Wagons. They've got to win this fight, and that brings them close to taking King's Row. Here is a good place. Flashbang brings Tobias to his knees, as does the Meteor Strike, taking out Floyd. Shanghai Dragons have stabilized here, and we could be looking at final fight now.
I mean, they're cruising in their wagons. That's all you can really say. And they're going to get the late pick from Knock the Block. Just getting caught out. That's so unfortunate. It's good for the Wagons, but bad for Victis, because you're just going to go ahead and it's going to take them even longer, and it's going to give Shanghai Wagons more time to just regroup, set up their plan, and decide what they want to do with Jojo's window. And the Shatter, the Joe combo has just literally had their ultimates on cooldown, and that's how you win in a brawl, right? You have to isolate, you have to Shatter, and then you have to get that big damage out.
I just want to point out as well, they couldn't see the defense there. Did you see how panicked Tobias looked? He's looking around the corners there. So we are so scared of that coming out. The Deadeye is there, the Melon. The tip of the spear finds the opening pick again onto the Baptiste. Not the block, will trade out Melon, but presumably he's happy that his work is done here as 30 seconds remain. Victis do not want to take this fight without their Baptiste.
No, you can't. That's all your healing gone. Even with these ultimates, you still need it, and you need to protect Maxina and in your face, especially at this point. Or you need to just enable some sort of a shatter Riptire to be big here. And Joey's up on the high ground looking for it. As the tire
the block. Yeah, lets this go. We'll find Melon as not the block goes very, very low. Joey finds that shadow onto Tobias. That might be enough with the spawn advantages coming in. Feeding Lucio in the backline in your face was literally that, but not to worry. Joey's got the hammer and will keep it swinging. But numbers simply not in favor of the defense at the moment. Victis have to be quick though if they're going to end this now. Dark Murloc will take out Noya, and surely now Victis will be winning this. The high noon out from Eagle, however, trying to get something done. It catches Floyd, and the defense are turning this around. A big shatter from Tobias, however, surely the nail in the coffin now. Window out as well from Joji. Will try and stave this off. The self-destruct out once more from Frost, and the beat, a big self-destruct will stop Victis touching, and Shanghai Wagons hold on to King's Row. My head is spinning, and Melon put it on a swivel.
There's so much to unpack from all that, because every single moment just was a game changer. And Noya coming out with play here too from Lucio. Sure, you don't see that every day, but they definitely put in some work on it, and I guess you can see it, right? That's what you need from your Lucio. Just be there assisting the whole way through. 4 assists on that play. Like, that's what you want out of your supports, right? Your supports need to be there to turn the fight, to find the 2v1s, to say, okay, I commit my resources and my healing and my speed here to win the fight and to keep this person up and fighting. And that's great. Noya just put in that work there. And you could say that for the support line entirely of Shanghai Wagons too. But yeah, Vic just looked better, right? Let's be real here. They looked better than they had on map 1. And there's definitely a lot to be said from this just being a straight roll. Let's be real here, Simba.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, that fight was so close in the final moments. But I mean, you even look at this as well. Look how close both these McCrees are operating at. That being said, look at the damage that Floyd is pumping in. The final blows are pretty close, but Floyd is rattling in damage. So really putting pressure on the Shanghai Wagons to step it up as far as the supports are concerned. And I think Floyd was one of the shining members of Victis in that King's Row, to be honest, always finding picks. And certainly as Knock the Block was struggling on the defense to stay alive as the Junkrat. We kind of saw Melon do the same thing on the Doomfist, and you might be looking at it and being like, every time Melon goes in on the Doomfist, they're falling and they're dying. But they're getting an important pick. They're killing the Baptiste, which if you're playing a Brawl Mirror and one team has a Baptiste and the other doesn't, it's going to be rough for you. So Melon getting the job done, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you need to do, like you said. If you take out the Baptiste, you lose a mortality field. You lose the primary source of your healing. And that enables your team to just, that's your go button, right? You can kind of take that go button if you take out the Junkrat, who's kind of your primary like defensive point in some ways and like a big preventer from running in. But the Baptiste is a higher value choice. And you take that all the time as you see that here. And the Shanghai Wagons are showing just how to like excellently run this brawl effectively, I think.
Absolutely. It is now match point for the Shanghai Wagons. They're looking to be on form and on fire at the moment. Victis has really got their work cut out for them if they want to clutch this back. We're going to go to a short break before we head to what could be our third and final map. Don't go anywhere.
In a totally imaginary world where the government allows a virus to sweep the globe and every city is on lockdown, one company is there to connect us all. ExpressVPN. Sign up at expressvpn.com/elohell and enjoy America's content without the, well, you know, America.
This ad made with 100% grass-fed, cage-free, wild-caught, no GMO, organic Americans. Vegan-friendly, availability upon request.
lay down the shatter. Let the bodies hit the floor. Uprising Academy at 95%. Right now with Hydra building up to this Bear Barrage so quickly. Oh, it has things.
Double kill in the back with the pulse bomb from the high ground. Aerial assault with that line.
Impact se escucha debajo gritar campeón a Sky Foxes.
Holy cow.
And after 42 consecutive losses, the Shanghai Dragons get their first win.
8 teams enter this weekend.
Oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing?
We got a clip with minimal information. It's time to break it down. Speed, 25%. Go. Figure out what this man's SR is.
Keep fighting till it's for sure lost.
Winnable!
to be greeted by this, which then leads to this, and oh no, Reinhardt, what are you doing? The solution? Elo Hell pickup games.
Hey, you know what? Just fucking do it.
Oh my god, it's huge! Oh! Kill, 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 kill! Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Open to players of all ranks and most platforms, Pugs give you the chance to experience competitive Overwatch as it was meant to be played. Competitively.
I need help, I need help.
I'm with you, I'm with you.
Shoot.
No way, dude.
Go. Let's go. Nice. Good call.
Players set their icons to indicate the role they want to play, then two captains pick their teammates and draft the most competitive teams they can. You can also take part in our pioneering learning event, Coached Pugs. To take part, join the Elo Hell Pickup Games Discord and and be sure to read the Pug Guide and FAQ. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in-game.
It is do or die time here for Victis. We have them facing off against the Shanghai Wagons. It's 2-0 in the series as a scrappy Kings Row just barely goes to the Shanghai Wagons. I mean, I say just barely, but Victis don't even take it to third point. I mean, it was so close, but it wouldn't appear that way, right?
No, if you were looking at this, you would think this was just Shanghai Wagons just driving along and rolling. But as we go to Junkertown, you know, Kings Row was less than a meter away from going and seeing where it went. So instead, we'll travel along and we'll see what the Wagons push their wagon to on Junkertown, because this is going to be a good spot for Brawl, right? Like, you have a lot of ground. You still have some high ground to contest, so you probably do want like a Winston or a Diva. But this comp can contest those high grounds, right? Especially with how the Shanghai Wagons are playing it, you can arguably kind of negate whatever Widow or Long or Ash you might get thrown at you. So we'll have to see what Victis decide to do, because they've been kind of everywhere, right? They've run a lot of like odd things. They threw the Junkrat in last time, and they tried to play these kind of standard rush comps, not quite to the level of the Shanghai Wagons. So you have to bring something different here if you're Victis Simba.
I actually really liked in the last series we saw the Sigma Hog defense for Junkertown. I think it's incredible, and it can really pick apart a team that isn't well coordinated. The problem with that is I do not think the Shanghai Wagons are uncoordinated. I think they are going to be so very threatening as we head to Junkertown. I mean, what do you make of the defensive team coming out here? Double shield, double sniper.
That looks about right. I think, like you said, if you're not wanting to play Hog Sigma, Orisa Sigma is not a bad place to be. You still have that sniper pressure. So if you protect them a little bit, you should be fine, which you're not necessarily doing. You're opting for more damage with the Zen Baptiste, which you might want the Brigitte instead, especially if Eagle and Melon have anything to say about it, as we're going to come out on what looks like Ball. No, that's going to be double shield also. Yeah. So I think, and we're going to get a pause there, okay? Both teams showing mirrors, though. So both team opting into this high damage Zenyatta pick comp. So it's just going to kind of come down to who enables their snipers a little bit better and who keeps them alive, because there's no real pressure, right? The only pressure coming is going to be from the other opposite Widow, Hanzo. So the better you defend your snipers and enable your team to get those picks, is the better you're going to look here on Junkertown.
Absolutely. And just to go back to you saying about you might want to run the Brig, the instance of running the double sniper, you're very rarely going to see that Brigitte come out, because that Discord orb is going to do so much to break those shields. We are back in as well, so.
Yeah, and that's again, like, so you're looking for higher damage value here. I'm like I said, you wouldn't normally see it. I think you might, just because I think she's a good pick personally, at least in this kind of a comp. But we'll see how wrong I am as we go on, Simba.
Well, like you said, this is super slow from either team, just pressuring out with no real immediate threats right now. The defense are going to be pretty comfortable on these high grounds to just see the Wagons slow down a little bit. With Floyd going down, however, it's going to be pretty disastrous for the defense. Ollie does find a pick on the Frost, though, and is in a nice position to follow up right now. Shanghai Wagons is just going to push this forward and obtain these power positions. Melon will go down, however, and Tobias finds that pick with Darth Murloc finding Eagle and forcing them back. This is looking good for the defense.
Yeah, and this is exactly what these comps do, right? These comps are more about controlling the space and around and enabling these snipers to have places to make shots and get picks onto the Zenyatta or the Baptiste. So if you can keep that going, like Shanghai Wagons really on this deep flank here, that's what you need, right? Because now you've got the opening and the picks are going to fall as in your face falls, and that's a lot of the main healing you're going to get, especially going down with Window. That's going to be a tough place. They have to back up and just give that space, and slowly they're going to see if they can make the picks.
Yeah, Gravitic Flux gotta come out, and it's certainly a desperate effort, but Darth Murloc doesn't even get to slam anyone down on the ground. Slightly wasted ultimate, but it does bring out Transcendence as a slight ring around the rosy happening between Floyd there and Melon, who are running around circles in each other. But when all is said and done, I mean, a nice shot from Floyd just ain't gonna cut it there, and Shanghai Wagons take that first point. Streets Phase, however, Victis already in a really good position to slow down this double shield comp, pardon me.
Yeah, this high ground is going to be so clutch to keeping your angles available for your snipers to have the damage in, right? Like, the more you just control these high grounds, the harder it is to aim up and get those shots. Melon is going to try and look on a flank for these dragons and just try to open it that way, which will force the scatter and, in theory, give some space available to make the picks. So with the ults coming in on the side of Shanghai Wagons, they look a little bit better, you know, prepared for this fight.
Well, these dragons could be absolutely devastating here as Muxina finds Joji. The dragon's not actually finding too much just now, but it's allowed the space for Victis to take to slow down this cart once more. And again, a very methodical, slow approach as Melon will fall. Darth Murloc pretty happy on this high ground now, and this is going to be a mini nightmare for the Wagons to retake this high ground space.
Yeah, the Wagons before, if we're looking at like Brawl running, you know, if playing Brawl is running checkers where you're kind of moving fast, you're taking the picks and then trading it, we've moved to chess because now where you're positioning is so important. And if this Arista from Tobias just keeps holding and drops the bongo as the dragons come in, it doesn't get anybody because they've been holding on. Maxina's been holding on to the trance. If they don't give up this high ground, they're in a good spot. But Melon's just gonna find two and force them out.
Yeah, a long-range Gravitic Flux as well is getting everybody on Victis' side so very low and forcing the squishies back into uncomfortable positions. I mean, you can see Floyd struggling to keep themselves alive here, and it's Frost who gets the final blow. This is recontestable for Victis. They've got that bongo ready to go and the Gravitic Flux with no Transcendence on the side of Wagons to stave it off. But with Maxina going down, Shanghai Wagons want to push this forward, and Accretion Rock onto Darth Murloc just unlocks that third point for the Wagons.
That's the correct play if you're the Wagons. You take the space you've got, get set up, and you bring your snipers forward to hold those angles. And you're just kind of pairing off, right? You're playing like a 3-3 kind of a split to give yourself angles and get damage out. And if the Victis just need to put a stop to this, they need to get themselves grounded and playing as a unit, which we haven't quite really seen, honestly, yet.
Yeah, it's been rough for them, and I mean, Frost is so free on this high ground. No one's finishing him off, and he's on his own up here just with the Harmony Orb. Eagle will be taken out by Floyd, who finds a second kill there. Both DPS now missing for the Wagons. It's gotta force them back. It's got to. Ollie will fall to Joey, that being said, and a large chunk of damage now missing for the defense. Floyd, however, has got other ideas. The Wagons aren't done just yet, though. They want to keep this going. A good accretion will stop that Gravitic Flux coming out from the Murlocs in an outclass from the Wagons tank line now, looking oh so very good. With their own Gravitic Flux ready to go for the next fight, Shanghai Wagons happy to just back up and rethink.
Late Dragons getting committed in there too from the side of Ollie. I guess maybe you're trying to get any stragglers, but you did get Noya, but I don't know. You might have wanted that as you're just gonna try and clear out, you can take the rest of that space. You still have a couple if you're the Shanghai Wagons, like you're building up ultimates, you're gonna come into, you have 3 and you're gonna get the 4th one in those wall hacks coming up. But has Tobias even used that supercharger? I don't even really think they've like used it, so they've been holding on to it, I think, a bit, and you kind of need to decide a point of where you want to win with it, and this could be the point between the supercharger and the application matrix. Mel's gonna launch the dragons in Simba.
Yeah, trades back and forth here, so a Widow missing for the Wagons and the Hanzo missing for Victis here, but most importantly, high ground still occupied by Tobias, who will get taken out by Melon, though. The Gravitic Flux takes out Muxina as well, and the numbers are thin for the defense now. They're really struggling to keep this alive. There's gonna be a late kill onto Murloc as well. The high ground is gonna be well and truly Shanghai Wagons now. Frost will fall, and that's quite an important pick coming out for Victis as Tobias is back on the wrecking ball so hard.
think he's just going for speed here. They're going to move to a little bit more of a hybrid comp, maybe just get a little more pressure onto the back line. It doesn't seem like they're winning these sniper fights, so this seems like a reasonable option to kind of disrupt and force the attention elsewhere, right? Like, I don't hate it, and it's also good because you're coming into the last fight with a minute left in the clock. There's probably only a fight or two left, so you have to do something to be ready when that clock starts ticking down.
Yeah, and without the Hanzo, like you said, just such a big chunk of damage gone. Melon's way deep in the backline, however, gets caught out by Maxina. Will be taking his life there as Floyd, who's been a shining star on Victis, to be quite frank, is getting so much value done. And Frost also swapping over to the Wrecking Ball now, finds Floyd, and this fight's still alive for the Wagons as Floyd not able to find the picks to stave off the attackers, and now all of Victis are just corralled into this spawn at the moment like herding sheep. They are in trouble. Tranquility comes out from Maxina, and that is disaster, Soad.
Yeah, this, unfortunately, you're trying to stall it. You've got it below 30 seconds. There's not much you can do. The rest of the ultimates are going to come out from Shanghai Wagons just to keep them up, and they're going to come into more in this mid-fight. The swaps are going to come to Victis to try just to touch, and it's not going to be enough, Simba.
No, not at all. I mean, the minefields,
yeah,
well and truly scattered like the grapes of wrath, just hanging over the spawn doors there. Pretty solid attack from Wagons. I think Floyd from Victis was really giving the Wagons a run for their money, but when all is said and done, Shanghai seemed like they're the more cohesive team of them.
100%, and that's the difference, right? Kind of like we were talking about earlier. If you have a strong 6 players who know what they're doing and have played together and can play the different heroes that they need to, you're gonna look better than bringing in some of these specialists or trying to swap people in for particular moments, which, not to say either one is better than the other, but you can really see what just team play and cohesion brings if you're looking at a team like the Shanghai Wagons versus Victis, who have these kind of like outlier people, and they're gonna just run it. Both teams just gonna run it right back. It was fine. Yeah. You're moving these, you know, you can see when you're winning this kind of a chess space movement game, and Victis feel pretty confident, and I don't disagree. They played very well, all things considered, to hold them to 16 seconds, Simba.
100%. I'd like to point out as well before we start, Darth Murloc on the Sigma had at least 2 of his gravitic fluxes cancelled by Frost. So, well and truly establishing the OTD there, but Joji does fall pretty early on, and this positional advantage not gonna be as valuable without your Zenyatta Discord Orb. In a long fight, you're gonna feel that extra damage missing as Victis happy to take all the space in the world now, just pushing this forward. Darth Murloc maybe a bit too far forward, but it's Frost who's caught unawares at the mo, trying to hold on to this space as best as they can with the aid of Melon, who goes way deep and ends up actually taking out Darth Murloc for Joji, who is now back on the respawns, and what suddenly looked quite dodgy for the Wagons is now very holdable.
Yeah, it looks very, very concerned, and they're just gonna easily get Ollie there too from that. And when your Zen falls, you're losing, like, that's a big piece to lose because Discord's big, but at the same time, like, you still have your healing and health floor back as well as you can. Blade's gonna fall too, a little bit out of position, just get it walked on. Melon's gonna look for these dragons, they're gonna be big too, and Blade's gonna take him down for poison. The Widow's Kiss actually coming in to be effective here as the dragons drops him, but and it looks like with that field out, it's just going to be a hold again for Shanghai Wagons, and they're going to slowly take that space forward.
Yeah, I mean, Joji finally goes down again, so Wagons are operating as a 5. Make that 4, both supports missing now. Ollie, with the aid of this amplification matrix, is just pushed forward in your face, taking out Joey as well. And just the lone Sigma on the high ground, Frost is in a spot of bother. He's going to have to be the one to contest the point, however. There's plenty of time till that, though, Soad.
Yeah, there's a lot of time still on the clock, and the Victis is getting slow progress, but they need to be a little more efficient in their kills. You can see it. They're not capitalizing on anybody they're catching out, and that's the difference between the respective team who's playing well and who's a team who's just not quite playing as a unit, right?
Well, there we go. Suck my unit, says Floyd as he picks up a kill onto Melon. If you get that reference, I'm proud of you. The gravitic flux coming out from Darth Murloc there. Does get to finish it off, but doesn't net himself a kill as Eagle takes out Floyd on the Tracer. Tobias will clap back, however, and take out Joey, and this is going to be a matter of time. A very desperate gravitic flux comes out and nets Frost absolutely zilcho. Victis will keep this car rolling and unlock the Shriek's phase.
Don't know about that one. You might might have wanted it and saved it for next fight. You might be giving up yeah, they're going to give it up to go to the Wrecking Ball, put a little pressure onto that back line of Floyd and Ollie now in a different manner. I like this sooner, especially with the Tracer pairing. Now you've got a couple people who can go out and pressure and take a real advantage of that Discord orb from Jojo.
Frost is in trouble. I mean, he just goes down immediately, and the Transcendence was pulled out by Joe as well. So that is certainly unideal to say the least. That being said, Joji finds 2 picks off the back of that Transcendence, manages to stabilize, and this might force Bay Victis back into a corner with Melon finding Ollie as well. They have stabilized here after losing 2 picks.
Yeah, and some odd committed ults there are going to be a little bit of a problem, and Ollie gonna give up that and go to the McCree, a little bit shorter range distance, a little more bursty, can actually get faces a little bit. So maybe he's trying to bolster the front line with that pick, and the picks are just gonna come in. Frost is gonna get 2, but just gonna get 1 and the Immortality Field, and that's gonna slow it up again.
Yeah, so the Immortality Field came out to stop Eagle's stick onto Floyd, but that meant that Floyd was so low that Frost just went in and finished the kill anyway. Darth Murloc ends their own life there with their splash damage, as this has turned less into a positional battle, and now it is team deathmatch. Which characters can pop off harder, and at the moment, the Wagons are coming up big. Frost is going in and kind of committing his own life for the cause, and that's netting them kills in the long run, and they Victis are corralled once more into a tight corner, and they do not look comfortable at all. The Wagons truly have a vice-like grip on them at the moment.
We've given up the chest and we've moved back to boxing Simba, and I think that's fine for both of these teams because, let's be real, there's no better way to counter these longer range heroes by getting in their face. And Melon holding onto that Hanzo ultimate is going to be big as Joey drops the supercharger, going to just put that pressure out, but Ollie's going to catch him from behind and take out the Baptiste.
Wonderful rotation coming out from Victis there, as the Wagons are sent up high with that Gravitic Flux coming out. Not looking great, and Victis will come out on top, even though Joey does invest that supercharger. That's the only thing they invested, the Wagons, so they're looking good for this recontest now.
Yeah, I think that was the initial thought, because my initial thought was, why not just go a little bit harder? You have the ultimate economy, but I think they want this retest right before the end here, and that has to be it. You've only committed supercharger, and that's fine. You can get that mid fight maybe if you put in enough damage, but you have everything else, including the very important Transcendence for the last fight. Frost is going to go in and contest right away as the Dragons come in.
Yeah, everyone just presses Q at the same time. Ollie goes for the Deadeye, but knows better when a Tracer's lurking than to hold on to it for the entire time. That's not going to net them any kills, and the stabilization from Wagons cannot be overstated now. Joey does fall to a pile driver of Murloc, and Ollie takes out Eagle. This could be a wonderfully great performance coming out from the DPS, and no option from Joji but to drop the Transcendence to stabilize for this final fight. But now the shoe is on the other foot. Shanghai Wagons used almost all their ultimates, and Victis coming into this next fight, this final fight, with quite a few.
Yeah, all they have is Minefield, which could do some work zoning off that cart, but you do have Supercharger and Pulse Bomb in addition to that Amp Matrix, which is just so much damage out on the side of Victis. And if they use that damage effectively and complete kills, they stand to just win this fight.
Yeah, well, Eagle goes low, but so does Floyd there, so neither Tracer want to follow up on that fight, as both of them sort of black and blue, not looking too happy. Minefield presumably coming in from Frost, but Joji dies to a well-placed pulse bomb from Floyd. The Minefield takes out In Your Face, however, and Zena goes down as well. Joey finishes off so biased as Oli kicks and screams and takes out Melon. The numbers just aren't there as Floyd wants to go to town now. The DPS, the Bay Victis, looking oh so very good here in this final fight. Shanghai Wagons with a dreadfully timed disconnect here, just finishing off Eagle. Will get that 3rd point, but it was so dodgy there, Soav.
It was down to the wire. Every single ult committed needed to get value, and we saw it initially. When that Baptiste fell to the Minefield, there were just mines in your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, that should have been signed, sealed, delivered a victory. But the scrappiness of these teams cannot be stated enough, because somehow we're looking at continuing to point C as this disconnect happens, and we'll come back to it. But we're looking at the extended time bank, and we're looking at possibly another whole time around Simba. And that to me is wild, given what we've just watched and been through.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things. I was talking to, I'm going to name drop a little bit. I was talking to the London Spitfires head coach, and he was doing a VOD review, and he was talking about one of those fights where something horrible's gone wrong right at the beginning of the fight, right? You lose your Baptiste in a brawl, for instance. He said, yeah, the only coaching I can really give for that is you need a little miracle. And luckily for Victis, a little miracle did indeed occur. I mean, finding the stick from Floyd, getting that stick from the pulse bomb, swings that fight 180. It really gives Victis all the momentum they need. And the McCree for Victis has been just so solid as well. I think that the tank line for Victis are struggling a little bit to get into the game, and Shanghai Wagons' tank line are doing a great job of keeping them out. But the DPS for Victis looks so hot right now.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's why this initial double shield looks really good for Victis, because you can just enable your DPS to pop off and carry that. And that was working for a while, but once the Wagons started adapting, saying, okay, like, we'll see your double shield and we'll raise you a ball in your face, and then you just kind of had to respond in pairs. So now you've got these kind of hybrid comps that are just throwing slugs at each other, really. And whoever's just kind of getting the right hit at the right point is turning the fight to be what it is. And with the fight now turned going towards point C, what changes can we expect coming in here? And you can see it as the Baptiste. There's just a difference in the Baptiste. Like, Noya is just getting out more damage straight out, but in the little bit of heal. So the damage coming out from the Baptiste is going to be a little more important, right? You can put out and defend your tank line a little better. You can put a little more like effort into completing kills. And that's kind of the difference, because you can see it. There's just more assists. Noya is just more present in the fights as opposed to in your face.
And I think, yeah, that's another thing, is that less healing per 10 doesn't necessarily mean that you're the lesser support. It might mean that your tanks aren't taking as much damage, right? Yeah. And that's what we're seeing from Victis. They just, like I said, the Shanghai Wagons denied 2 gravitic fluxes on the defense from Victis. That is kind of damage that Noya would get up more healing per 10. But we saw way more offensive assists coming out from Noya. So the amplification matrices are being used to much better avail from the Wagons. And I think that's going to be a theme going into Final Point on Junkertown. We do have a disconnect, so we're going to take a short break as we figure that out. Don't go anywhere. You do not want to miss the finale, potentially, to this here series. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You join us just as the overtime gets replenished. Victis take the second point and will unlock that third and final point to keep their run alive here against the Shanghai Wagons. 2-0 at the moment for them. I mean, so it's been a really interesting, like, counter-swapping game so far.
Yeah, this is what you expect at this level, right? Is that we have the knowledge to know when we need to swap, and we see some wholesale swaps come in from Victis, Ollie over to the Reaper, and a couple other changes coming in. So this is what you would expect at this level, right? You would know when we need to make swaps to what things.
Yeah, I mean, a pick immediately onto Murloc there is pretty rough with only a minute remaining. The pulse bomb goes in for Eagle, but he need not use it as in-your-face falls nonetheless. 40 seconds on the clock, no matter what now. If Victis run this home, they're going to be doing it in overtime, so and it's do or die now.
They've got the resources to do it. Max Xena does have the Transcendence, which is going to be big for this next fight to keep him going. Especially important because Melon is going to be coming into those dragons. That's going to be very big to keep them spaced off. And Darth Murloc has to do something with these mines. Maybe just get behind him and drop them, to keep the space to push him, kind of hurt him into it. And early Pongo and early Supercharger up from Joey going to force that out. They're really not going to let them come in, Simba.
Yeah, the idea was do as much damage before Victis gets to the point. The problem is that they have that Transcendence to heal everyone back up to full as Melon will fall to Darth Murloc, who is deep in enemy territory. Frost has these mines ready to go and will drop them down. A big chunk of players caught in them, but Darth Murloc is just going to town. He's found both supports now, and they're going to keep this moving forward. In your face dice to the mines once more as Eagle gets the hard end of the Ords from Max Xena, who eventually will go down. Numbers thin for either side here as Frost surely going to die here. The Sombra, however, has hacked up the point, and Joey finds 2 kills onto both DPS. The Flankerissa is back, and the hopes and dreams of Victis slip away as the overtime does too. Shanghai Wagons take the series 3-0.
Guys, Toast would be proud as the Flankerissa really comes through and puts us to the end. And you know who that is. That's not just an Among Us streamer. God bless you, because that's a reference I made. Frost really did put in work across the board on the Sigma and on the ball there. And you gotta give it. That's for putting in the work that they did and isolating like that. Like, Shanghai Wagons were good, but there were such good high spots for Victis, right? Victis had moments where they looked like great, and you could see these players shine. And it's just a shame that, the score line doesn't really show that at all. This 3-0 looks like you just walked into Shanghai just stomping over them, but it was way better out of Victis than I think we could have thought for both these teams being 1-1.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Victis almost pushed the cart through on third point. There was some more carry moments coming out from the Wagons, I think. Again, I keep bringing it back to Frost cancelling 2 gravitic fluxes, which just stopped so much momentum in a team fight. And you've done so well to do that, to just stifle Victis with some minor heroic plays coming out from members of the Shanghai Wagons. But like you said, 3-0's a little harsh for Victis. I think they did play pretty well. It's just that Shanghai, in those clutch moments, just came up so big.
And you can even see it there in the scores. Like, every single map, it just got closer. But it feels like Victis just never got that warm-up match in to, like, be ready for this. And I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? The Wagon's going to keep rolling, and you move on to the next game the best you can.
They absolutely do. That is going to bring it to the end of our stream over here, ladies and gentlemen, but stick around for GGNA coming up shortly after this. I've been Simbabble. I've been joined here by Soav. We've got wonderful people behind the camera as well. We've got Eka on the production. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow Elo Hell as well so you can watch all the more GGEU and NA. But for us, it's farewell for now.
Take care.
In a totally imaginary world where the government allows a virus to sweep the globe and every city is on lockdown, one company is there to connect us all: ExpressVPN. Sign up at expressvpn.com/EloHell and enjoy America's content without the, well, America.
This ad made with 100% grass-fed, cage-free, wild-caught, no GMO, organic Americans. Vegan-friendly availability upon request.